Hey everyone. So I had posted a few weeks ago or a week and a half ago, something like that, about doing a how-to video on how to make your own ghee. And I got a huge response on Instagram and Facebook, so I figured let's do it. So I thought about doing a live video, but ghee takes a while to make. So instead, I'm going to be doing little bits and pieces of videos along the process because it would be really boring for you guys to stay on the phone with me for over an hour or something like that. And I'll do little bits and pieces. I'll put the videos together, and then this is the video that you're getting now. So what is ghee? A lot of people see me post about ghee all the time and they wonder what it is. So ghee is basically a class of clarified butter. So it's actually beyond clarified butter, where you take butter, you cook it down for a really long time, and it kind of starts to, it almost looks like it starts to burn a little bit. It kind of releases the milk proteins out of the butter. They fall to the bottom, you have some at the top. That's all the milk proteins in the butter that you're getting rid of. So once that's all cooked down, you can kind of scrape it away and you see this really clear liquid. That is your ghee. And then you strain it. You strain all those milk proteins out of the butter, and then you end up with your ghee. So essentially you've got this dairy-free butter that you're able to use. If you're paleo, even just dairy-free, anything like that, a lot of people find that they can tolerate ghee versus butter because you are removing all of those milk proteins. So it's Whole30. I know you can use it on the Whole30. You guys know that I head up these Shred 10 programs every single month. It's 10 days of shredding unhealthy habits. I absolutely love it. If you haven't seen me post about it, you can kind of look at my posts or message me and ask me what it's all about. But it's amazing, and I love it because it's doable and it's realistic in the long term, and it's not something that you even have to just do for 10 days, but it's something that it's a lifestyle you can maintain for life. I find a lot of these diets out there, you know, you're only going to do it for 30 days or your 10 days or 20 days, 21 days, whatever it is. And then you're kind of like, okay, now what? Because I feel totally deprived. Whereas the Shred 10, it's something that you can maintain your whole life. So ghee, people love because they can use that as their cooking fat, right? So we're always looking for cooking fats. We use olive oil. That's a really good, healthy cooking fat. Coconut oil is another great one. But ghee it tastes, I can't even tell you how good it tastes. It's like, I don't know if you guys are lobster fans, but my husband Scott and I always say it kind of like tastes and smells like that, like lobster butter. It's got this like caramelized, nutty flavor to it. So I literally will eat it with a spoon, no joke. But I use it as a cooking fat. I cook my eggs in it every single day, unless I run out. And then I'll saute vegetables. I will sometimes cook chicken, things like that. And it does have a really high heat point, so it doesn't burn, which is great. You know, olive oil can burn, your butter burns really. So that's what ghee is all about. So we're gonna make it today. I'm gonna show you how to make it. It's so easy. And one of the biggest things I love about making ghee is that it's so easy that you can multitask. So like I throw it on the stove, it's like a set it and forget it type of thing. I throw it on the stove, and then I can kind of go do a little bit of other work, or I can be making something else. I'm actually going to be making tomato soup this morning too while I'm making this. So I'm going to have a bunch of things going on my stove, but we're focusing on the ghee today. So yeah, I love it that you can multitask with it, and it really is easy. Ghee's expensive. It really is expensive. If you go and buy it in the stores, it's not cheap, but it is really easy to make. So I loved when I found out that I could make it myself, because it was like life-changing for me. Now I always have ghee on hand. All right, so let's get started. So the things that you need a pot. So this is, I use this, I don't know how you say it, Le Creuset, is that how you say it? This is my favorite pot to use. I actually also just use a regular pot also, so whatever pot you have works fine. You are not going to need the lid, so you just need the bottom part. The other thing you're gonna need is you're gonna need something to strain your ghee into after. So I have this is from Pampered Chef. I actually love this. It's like, I forget what it's called. It's like a baker's something. It comes at the top. I don't even know. But this one is 8 cups. So I'm gonna be using 6 sticks of, or blocks, I guess, because I'm using Kerrygold, blocks of butter in here. I find that's the ideal number. I always make a large amount. If I do more than 6, I can get away with 7, but if I do more than 6, sometimes it just doesn't cook down right. And if you do less, like, you run out of it really quickly. So if you're gonna make a batch, make a big batch, I go with 6. That's my favorite number. That's my lucky number, so I'm going with 6. And again, this is 8 cups, so you want to make sure you have a big enough bowl. And then you want to have a strainer, like a straining bag. So you can use a nut milk bag. Those are available in a lot of places. This is actually a paint strainer bag. So I just buy this at Ace Hardware. You can buy them at Home Depot, wherever. It's super fine. You guys can take a look at it here. It's super fine, and I find that it works really well, and it's cheap. Sometimes milk nut bags, it's so hard to say, are really expensive, and so I find these are super cheap. I actually wash them off, and I put them right into the dishwasher, and then you can reuse them again. So that's what I use. You want to make sure your bowl isn't like so wide that you can't cover it. So I'm actually going to put this in here so you can see what I do. When I go to strain it, when I go to strain it, you're actually going to put your bag in the bowl, and then you're just going to put it right around. So I'm going to end up, when it's ready to strain, I'm going to end up straining it right in here, and then I can pull the bag right out. The other thing you're going to need is jars, something that you're going to store the ghee in. I have a bunch of these little jars here. You can use the ball jars, you know, those bigger ones. I always keep mine on the counter, so I don't always want to have this huge jar on the counter. Here's another one. Here's one that I have already done in here. But you can just, you know, make a big batch and put it in a huge jar. It might be hard to kind of scrape it on the bottom. So I use these smaller. These are 10-ounce jars. So when I do 6 bars of ghee, I get 4 jars. So I get 40 ounces of ghee out of that, about. I might have a little extra that I pour into another small jar, but you can use whatever jar you have, whatever size. Have multiple jars, have one big jar. It's really whatever you want. Just have some jar to put it in. A lot of people will save the jars. They'll save like their coconut oil jars or their pickle jars or whatever it is that you have. You don't have to go out and buy jars. So you probably have a ton of jars in your fridge. Save them, wash them out, and use those, right? Super simple. You don't have to spend extra money. So, and then of course you want to make sure your jars have covers. And that's all you need. So you need your butter, you need your pot, you need your bowl with your strainer, and you need some sort of jar to put it in. So let's get started. The first step I always do, turn on your stove. So you're gonna, and I always have trouble turning on my stove, so I need to go and, I might need to go and grab a, oh, no, I got it. Okay. So I always start kind of on medium heat. I throw it on before I add in any butter, and then you just start adding the butter. I use Kerrygold. See if I do this the right way. Kerrygold unsalted butter. You want to make sure you're using unsalted butter for this. And again, these are the blocks. This is actually 2 sticks, and I'm putting 6 blocks in there. So you're actually, it's 12 sticks if you think of it that way, if you're using a different butter. I love Kerrygold. It's amazing quality. It's from grass-fed cows, so it's good, it's pure, and it's delicious. I remember years and years ago I went to Ireland. My kids were, gosh, they were like 2 and 3, I think, something like that. They don't remember anything about it. I think maybe they remember the house a little bit from like playing, but that's it. And oh my God, the Kerrygold butter at that time was like unbelievable. And that's when I was eating bread, and they had this like big thick toast, and every morning we had toast and Kerrygold butter. It was like, it was so good. I don't eat the toast anymore, but if I have gluten-free bread, I will slather on a bunch of this ghee. And then at that time too, you could only find Kerrygold during, in March, during St. Patrick's Day. Now you can literally find Kerrygold everywhere. You can find it at Market Basket, Whole Foods, wherever. If you live by me in New Hampshire, here's a little tip for you. I find McKinnon's has it at a really good price, so that's where I buy it. So, okay, so we're just gonna add in the butter. That's all we're gonna do. I've already got my heat on to start, so I don't add the butter and then turn on the heat. I just get it going all right away. Let's see, I'm gonna look at the time. It's 9:10, so I'm gonna kind of gauge that as my time to tell you guys as I'm adding in the butter. We'll do a start time of 9:10, because if I don't remember that, I'm gonna have to go back and look at this video. So I'm gonna add in 6. I've got 3 in there, so I'll just add those in. Of course, my dogs are ringing the bells to go outside. They do this every single time I start a video. I've got 4 in there. The hard part about doing these videos when I'm not doing them live is I can't chit chat with you guys while I'm doing it. I really enjoy that part of live videos, seeing everybody's comments and answering questions. Okay, that's 5, and then 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. I've got 1 more, so I'm going to throw 6 in here. I am going to get another pot going on this side too. I'm going to get 2 batches going at the same time. Cook time for you guys, just to let you know, cook time is going to vary. So I'm showing you what it is for mine. When I do my ghee on this burner, I don't know about you guys, but my burners have all different heat levels. So this is my favorite burner to use. So this is usually the one that I use. This heats a lot better. The one over on this side, it doesn't heat as quickly, and it's not as hot, I guess, is what I should be saying. And it takes a little bit longer. So what I do is I start a batch on this side, and then when this side is done, I move it over to this side. Whatever. I could probably put the heat on a little bit higher on that side too, and maybe it'll be quicker, but low and slow is the key to ghee. Look at that. That's a fantastic rhyme. So I'm gonna get a paper towel, hold on. All right, so I've got 6 sticks of butter in here, and I have it on medium heat. I'm actually gonna, can I turn this around? I don't know if I can turn this around while I'm videoing. Let's see, no, I can't. So I'm actually gonna stop the video in a second, and then I'll turn around and show you guys. So I've got my heat on medium. I've got 6 sticks of butter in here, and then we're just gonna start letting it melt, okay? And then we started our time at 9:10, so hold in here. So there's my 6 sticks of butter, and I've got it on medium heat, and I'm just gonna let it melt, and I'm gonna wait until it melts all the way down, and then I'll show you guys the next step. All right guys, so my butter is all melted. You can see it all melted, it's bubbling. I am gonna now turn my heat all the way down to low. So you're gonna see down here, there's a super small, there we go, we're going blurry here. Just a really small flame on there. And this is what we're just gonna let it simmer for a while. So as you can see, just so you guys can see, it's got all of this foam on top. That's what happens when the butter initially melts. And if you kind of pull away the foam, you can see it's all cloudy under there, right? I want you to take note of that so you can see the difference later when it starts to release those milk proteins. So that, this boil, this is gonna go down a little bit to a simmer. It's still kind of really hot. And then we'll come back and I will show you, let's see, we started at about 9:10 and it's 9:18 right now. So that's where we are right now. All right guys, so just to give you an update, it's 9:37 and this is what the ghee looks like so far. So we still have this foam on top, but you can see it's not as foamy as it was before. It's still bubbling. We can pull it back and you can see that it's still cloudy, but not as cloudy. So we're just kind of starting that process, but it does take a while. It hasn't changed a bit. So we started, again, we started at like 9:10. I think my last video was at 9:18 and we're about 20 minutes in of the boiling since we turned it to low. And this is what it looks like. All right, guys, so it is now 9:51. I wanted to give you an update on what this looks like. So you can see the difference from the videos before. It's not as foamy. It's actually starting to get a little bit darker than it being like a more of a white yellowy foam. It's starting to become more brown. If you pull this back, you can see it's not as cloudy, right? It's starting to get a little bit more clear, but it's not done yet. So this is the process. So it starts off with that cloudy underneath, that really yellow foam at the top. And then as it cooks down, again, low and slow, you want to keep it on low, it is going to become clear underneath, and this top part is going to start to become brown. And then you'll actually have, you can kind of see, let's see if I can find some, you'll actually see little bits, those darker pieces on the bottom. You'll see darker pieces starting to fall to the bottom. There was actually one other piece of equipment that I wanted to add that you don't have to have, but it actually does make it easier. So I have this little metal, you can use plastic, metal's probably better because it's really, really hot. I have this funnel that actually fits right into my jars. It makes it a little bit easier when you're straining it out. So I just wanted to add that in if you're kind of watching earlier in the video so you don't find out at the end. If you have one of these funnels, that is awesome. If you don't, it's totally okay. You don't need it. It just might get a little bit messy when you're trying to pour it into your jar. So just keep that in mind. All right, guys, it's 10:08. This is what my ghee looks like. This is all done. This is what it looks like when it's done. So we've got all of this brown on top. You can see all these little darkened bits, and look at underneath how dark it is. It is all like a golden clear liquid, and you can see on the bottom of my pan all of the bits have gone to the bottom. So that's all the milk proteins that have gone to the bottom of the pan, and then you've got some of this burnt on top with the darker foam. So that's what it looks like when it is completely done. I just shut off my burner. I am going to transfer this over to my sink, and then I'm going to throw the video back on. All right, guys, so start to finish, that took an hour. So I'm gonna grab my pot, and actually what I'm first gonna do is I'm actually gonna put this into my sink. You really wanna do it over the sink because you don't wanna spill it all over your counter because it's butter and it's greasy and oily. So I'm actually gonna move my video. I didn't plan this one very well, so I'm gonna move my video over here. Let's see if I can get it over into my sink a little bit better. So I've got my sink here. So I am going to grab the pot. I'm gonna bring it over. I've got my strainer bag inside my container here. So I've got my glass container and I've got the strainer bag in here. And then I'm just gonna strain it out into the bag. Awesome. So I want to show you guys, I'm actually going to move my camera back this way because I'm going to work on my counter. So I want to show you guys, the pan is super hot, so definitely use some oven mitts. I want to show you guys what this looks like. So that's what the bottom of my pan looks like. You can see all of those bits. Let me see if I can find them here. All of those bits on the bottom, you can see them just pour down. That's all the milk proteins that have burned off the butter to the bottom of the pan. And no joke, I know that's the part you're not supposed to eat. It tastes unbelievable. So if you take a little spoon and you take a little spoonful, I won't judge because I do it all the time. It's really good. So that's what we end up with. And then I actually just spilled butter all over my counter, even though I just told you guys not to do that. So I'm gonna grab a paper towel. Just wipe that up. All right, so I've got the container here. Let's see if I can make this go down a little bit more so you guys can see better. And then you basically just undo the bag, and then I let it strain out. You can see in here all of those milk proteins that have been strained from the butter. Oh, my doggies are gonna bark. They probably hear something. There's actually nobody here. There's nobody here. Jasper. There's nobody here. They think they hear someone. All right, so I let that strain out. I let all the liquid come out as much as I can. And then again, you can see all of that, all the milk proteins at the bottom of the bag. And then for now, I just kind of transfer that over to my pot and I let it sit there. So this is what you end up with. That really dark, you want that dark golden color. That's like the perfect color for your ghee. So next step, I'm gonna go and grab it, my jar over here. So as I mentioned, I've got this little funnel here. It's a metal funnel because you are using hot liquid, so you don't want it to melt. And then, so these actually fit perfectly into my 10-ounce jars. You don't need perfection. Sometimes if your funnel is bigger and it sits up, that's totally okay. If you don't have a funnel, that's okay too. It just might get a little bit messier if you don't have one. So to pour, I use a ladle. Let me grab my ladle, which I didn't grab either. There's no one here, Jasper. Okay, so I've got my ladle. Careful of your hands because this does get a little hot, so I always hold it at the top. And then I just start ladling into my jar. So again, if you're not using a funnel, I would just be super careful not to spill it all over the sides of your jar because then you're gonna end up with these really greasy, nasty jars and you don't want that. So I'm gonna fill this to the top. All right, so that's one. I'll do one more for you guys on the video, and then I'll finish off the rest off the video and then kind of end it after that. So just pour right in. So I just kind of scoop from the top. You will notice when you get to the bottom of this bowl that you'll see a little residue at the bottom. I don't add that in. Well, sometimes I do, sometimes I don't. If it's just for me, I don't care. If I'm making it for somebody else, obviously I want to make sure I don't have any milk proteins at all in the jar. So, but when I'm making it for myself, a little bit doesn't bother me. So that is 2. All right, so I'm going to do these other 2 and then I'll be back. All right, so I've got 4 of these 10-ounce jars filled. So again, that was 6 bars of Kerrygold. That's actually 12 sticks because there's 2 sticks in 1 bar of Kerrygold. So I've got 4 of these. I've got about 40 ounces. This is what, whoop, slippery. This is what I have left in the jar. So it isn't enough for another full 10-ounce jar. And I don't know, let me see if I tilt this down, if you guys can see what that looks like. There is a little residue on the bottom. If I'm making this for myself, I don't mind that little bit of residue, but I do not put that if I'm making it for somebody else. I do not put that residue in because that can be a little bit of the extra milk protein in there. So what I do with my little extra is I take whatever jar I'm using at the time. So I have this one, which has some room in it. So I take it and I literally just pour it in. And then that will harden up in the jar for me. Oops, I'm gonna end up way at the top of this jar, which is totally fine for me. And then I end up with another full jar for myself. So that is the whole process. So I'm gonna show you guys, I'm gonna go grab you a jar that is completely done so you can see what it looks like. It's in my pantry. So what I do is I let the jars cool without the covers on for a little while, and then maybe after like I don't know, half hour to an hour, it doesn't really matter, but I do let them cool a little bit before I put the covers on. Just let them sit on my counter, and then they will solidify. So this is what it looks like when it's all done, so you can see the difference. This is really hot if I pick it up. So this is what it looks like before it solidifies, when it comes out of the right off the stove, and then this is what it looks like when it solidifies. In the summertime, you'll notice when you make this, if it's so warm and your house is warm, it may not fully solidify. It may not solidify at all, depending on how hot your house is. So just know that. Know that you didn't mess up, you didn't screw up. My ghee comes out way better in the winter than it does in the summer, or even like it comes out pretty good in the spring and fall, but the summer, if you like it solid, then refrigerate it. If you don't mind it a little soupy, I don't mind it because I'm melting it anyways to cook with. So I don't mind that it's actually a little bit melted. I just use a spoon to take it out, and then you could do it that way. But if you do want it solid, you want to put it in the fridge. Ghee lasts a long time. On the counter, I don't know, 6 months at least. In the fridge, a year probably. You're not gonna have ghee for that long. I promise you, you will use up these jars fairly quickly because it's so good. I wish you guys could smell this, because it is like, I wish I could stick like a wick in it and then light it and have it as my candle. That's how good it is. So that is how you make ghee, guys. It's really, really easy. So we finished at 10:20. So it was just a little bit, an hour and 10 minutes, and I've been talking a little bit, so maybe even a little bit less. But from start to finish, it's about an hour to an hour and 15, something like that. Again, your burners are completely different than mine. Some of you have gas, some of you have electric. My gas stove, I have ones that are stronger than others. So that was the strongest one on my stove. That's the one I used, and that's the one that took an hour, depending on your pan too and how thick your pan is. So go by the color, right? Look at the video. See how at the beginning it was really cloudy, it was super light, you had that yellow foam, and then as you want to keep it low, right? Low and slow, that's the key to ghee. There's my rhyme again, I love it. And then as it finishes, you look at that color, you get this really dark, dark golden color, right? I'm gonna pick this up with 2 fingers. That's what it looks like when you're done. Underneath, it's almost gonna look like it's burning. Don't worry, it's not burning. I have thought that I have burnt ghee before, and it was like, the best tasting ghee. It was like this brown butter ghee, and it was so good. So it's okay if it becomes really dark. And then you want to strain it, and then you've got your ghee. So it's super easy. So really go by the color. Don't necessarily go by the time, but it should be somewhere around an hour, maybe a little bit longer, depending if you have a lesser strong, I don't even know the word I'm trying to say, burner. So that's it. That's your ghee. If you guys have any questions, just message me. You can message me through Instagram, thecleankitchennh.com. I'm sorry, The Clean Kitchen NH, that's my Instagram name, or my website is www.thecleankitchennh.com, or Facebook, which is The Clean Kitchen NH also. So there's lots of ways you guys can get in touch with me. If you have any questions, I'm actually gonna post the video, so if you see the post, you can ask the questions on the post also. Make your own ghee, guys. It is so easy, and to have it on hand all the time is like the best thing. Once you make it once and you get it down, I promise you, you're gonna be like, I'm never buying ghee ever again. So I hope you guys enjoyed it, although I know a convenience too. You're probably still gonna buy ghee because not everybody has the time to make it. But if you can find an hour and a half to get it done, maybe on the weekend you make a big batch, try it, right? Try it and see how it goes. And then let me know how it goes, because I always want to hear. If you guys watch these videos and try it, I always want to hear, so keep me informed. I hope you guys have a great day, and I will see you soon. More videos to come. I promise more how-to videos to come. It's on my 2018 list, so I'm super excited about that. All right, I'll talk to you guys later. Bye-bye.